Hi there! Today I'm going to talk about how to write a fairy tale. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take out your plan. It looks like this, the blank one does. We've been using this plan all year, so hopefully your child is familiar with it. I went ahead and filled it out just to save time. So the first thing that we want to do is think about who your character is going to be. So I decided that Princess Buttercup would be my character. When is once upon a time, since it's a fairy tale, and the place is in the forest. So when you do one of these plans, you don't have to write words. It can just be a quick sketch. I just use stick figures. I don't try and add any details. This is just to help me remember what's going to happen in my story. So in my story, Princess Buttercup is going for a walk in the forest. She meets a wolf and she follows him deeper into the woods. She realizes, though, that the wolf is tricking her and trying to get her lost, so she manages to escape. And then she's super smart, so she noticed that the sun started in the east and sets in the west. So she knew that the castle was west, so she followed the sun west until she got out of the woods and made it home to her castle. So this is my just quick plan. This plan is a little more detailed in that I'm actually writing out what I want to happen. I have a title for my story. I have the good and bad characters in my story, and then I just follow these arrows. So once upon a time, Princess Buttercup decided to go for a walk in the woods. The problem is the wolf tricked her into getting lost in the forest. So as she was walking, she met a wolf who led her deeper into the forest. She realized she was lost and the wolf was tricking her. She ran away from the wolf and thought about how to get home. And she used her knowledge of the sun and stars to find her way home. So her happily ever after, since it's a fairy tale, we're writing a happy ending. Princess Buttercup found her way home and never went in the woods alone again. So now I have a pretty comprehensive plan of what I want to happen in my story. And this is something you can spread out throughout the week. So maybe this is something you would work on Monday, possibly this as well. That could be one day, just like a planning day. It could even take 2 days, probably no more than 2 days for this. After you have this, you can go ahead and start writing your story. So I went ahead and wrote my story on the computer. So you have the choice of handwriting or just going into your Google Classroom and writing the story there. So I'm using my plan to kind of help me remember what I want to happen, because I'm not going to do this. Your children are not going to all do this all in one day, and it's really easy to forget what they were going to say. So I'm going to show you the story I wrote, and then there's some things to keep in mind as they write their story. The first day, it's just a good idea to let them write whatever they're going to write. So they can write making lots of mistakes. That's okay. They're just getting their ideas down on paper. One thing I want you to notice is I put a title up at the top and my name. I started with an indent, and I'm just going to read you my story and kind of point out some of the things I did. So one thing is that in this plan, I don't have a whole lot of detail. So when I take my plan and make it into a story, I want to add some details so that the reader can imagine what's happening, and that might be dialogue, things that the characters are saying and thinking. It could be examples of things that the character can see, hear, taste, touch, smell, anything like that. So this is Lost in the Woods by Mrs. Nicktab. Once upon a time, there was a kind and lovely princess named Princess Buttercup. One day, Buttercup decided to go on a walk through the forest since it was such a beautiful day. As she walked, she heard the birds chirping, the wind rustling the leaves, and a rushing stream nearby. She had just decided to sit down and have a rest when suddenly a wolf appeared out from behind a tree. So in this part, I added an example of things that she could hear as she was walking through the forest. That's not something that I included in my plan, but I definitely want to include that in my story so that you can imagine it. She had just decided to sit down and have a rest when suddenly a wolf appeared out from behind a tree. "Hello there," he said. Here I'm starting to add dialogue, or what characters are saying. Buttercup was surprised but loved all animals, so she decided to be friendly. "Hello there, Wolf. How are you?" "I am very happy to see you," replied the wolf. "I found the most beautiful place in the forest, and I was hoping I would find a friend to show it to." Buttercup thought about it. Her parents often told her not to leave the trail or trust strangers, but she did love walking through the woods, so she decided she would go with the wolf to see where it was. "Okay," she said, "I will go with you." So here I'm showing you what Buttercup is thinking. So again, that's not something that was in my plan, but I want to include it here so that we can know what's happening in her brain. They began walking through the forest. Buttercup noticed that she didn't recognize anything anymore, and the forest was getting darker and harder to walk through. "Where are you taking me? Is it far?" she asked the wolf. "No, it's not far. Right around the next corner," he said suspiciously. "What does it look like?" she asked. It is, really nice," the wolf stammered. In that moment, Buttercup realized the wolf was tricking her. She had to get away. She began to tiptoe through the woods, getting farther and farther behind. When the wolf wasn't looking, she dashed away as fast as she could. Buttercup was lost, but she knew what to do. She looked at the sky and noticed which direction the sun was setting. Since she knew the castle was in the west, she walked toward the light until she came out of the forest and saw her home. She was so relieved to be out of the woods and ran all the way home. After that, she never went into the forest alone and didn't trust strange wolves. So here I just want to point out that I made sure I included all the events from my plan, just adding more details, make sure I have a happily ever after, and I ended with a solution to my problem.